Bellerive Country Club resembled a beehive on Friday afternoon, with Tiger Woods in his pomp and generating a febrile atmosphere in the second round of the 100th USPGA Championship. This is the first time Woods has played competitively in the gateway city and, in scenes reminiscent of the first wave of Tiger mania back in 1997, spectators stood for 3 hours in the brutal heat just to be next to the ropes as he walked by. The man himself also turned back time, with 3 birdies in his first 7 holes to continue his impressive comeback from the depths of 3 over after 2 on Thursday. From 47th place overnight, he had progressed to a tie for 23rd on 3 under for the tournament. He was giving his playing partners Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas a taste of the old razzle-dazzle. Up next was a par 5 and the easiest hole on the course. Then came the most untimely of warning hooters signaling a weather suspension owing to lightning in the area. 20 minutes later, the rain came down in torrents, and play was done for the day. It means a long day of 28 holes for the 42-year-old on Saturday, the first time he will have played more than 18 holes in one day in this latest comeback. Whether the magic is still there, we shall have to wait and see. For McIlroy, by contrast, the suspension couldn't come soon enough after 7 straight pars. That's 16 in a row in all, which would be great at a typical US Open but no use here in this paradise for big hitters. He will start on Saturday no fewer than 10 shots off the pace, but at least the course will be soft and the greens smooth. If you want to know why the fairways will be narrow at the Ryder Cup next month and the rough juicy, this course provides all the evidence. Give America's heavy artillery generous fairways and enticing hole positions, and they're in their element. World number 1 Dustin Johnson, US Open champion Brooks Koepka and Gary Woodland, perhaps the biggest hitter of all, flexed their muscles before the weather delay on this typical example of country club target golf, and took dead aim. Fair play to the plucky Kevin Kisner from South Carolina, therefore, who managed to keep pace with this trio of monstrous sluggers despite lying a rather modest 142nd in driving distance this season. The plucky 34-year-old who finished tied second in the Open last month punched well above his weight once more with a fine 64. He finished just a shot behind his playing partner, Barstool Buddy, and the leader Woodland, who followed up his own 64 on day 1 with a 66 for a record halfway PGA total of 10 under. We've come through the ranks together, we're lifelong friends, and if only I could hit it 350 yards from the tee like him, well, what a different game it would be, said Kisner. Nestling right behind them on 8 under is the dangerous Koepka, who became the 15th man in PGA Championship history to shoot 63, shortly afterwards, South African Charles Schwartzel would become the 16th. In turn, Koepka is just a shot ahead of his big pal Johnson. At the US Open it was Koepka who came out on top between these two, and it would be no surprise if they have another go at it. Said Koepka, when you think where I was in April and having to miss the Masters with a wrist injury, to win 2 majors in the same season would be incredible. Onsen, who's got 1 major and a ton of near misses on his CV, turned on the afterburners to play the back 9 in 31 shots. The Euros? They're not out of it, with forgotten man Thomas Pieters from Belgium leading the way on 7 under after following his opening 67 with a 66. Open champion Frankie Molinari is only 5 off the pace after a 67 with Jon Rahm, 68, on the same mark. I feel I'm in a similar position to Carnoustie in that I had work to do over the weekend and managed to do it, so let's hope for something similar, said Molinari. Justin Rose followed up his near-miraculous 67 on Thursday with a 69, where any sense of disappointment was tempered by perspective. Every time I hit a bad shot I reminded myself where I was on Tuesday, when I was struggling to walk properly with my back, let alone play, he said. The 38-year-old moved a lot more freely on Friday, and will get better as his sharpness returns. Considering he went from just making the halfway cut at the Open to finishing joint second, he won't be giving up on his chances just yet, either. As for the rest of the 14-strong English contingent, Londoner Matt Wallace shot a fine 66 to be tied 23rd alongside Jordan Spieth after benefiting from seeing a sports psychologist for the first time. The 28-year-old Londoner has won twice this season but also missed his last 4 halfway cuts. Speaking of which, it looked like it was going to be a rare weekend off for Tommy Fleetwood until he birdied his last 2 holes to be on the right side of the mark on 1 under. He's now in need of one of those 63s on Saturday that he specializes in during majors. Playing alongside Kisner and Woodland, Sergio Garcia cut an understandably despondent figure. His struggles continued as a 71 left him on 1 over, with the cut likely to fall on level par when the second round is completed on Saturday morning. After missing the halfway cut at the first 3 majors this season, it means he is likely to complete an unwanted set, and leave Ryder Cup captain Thomas Bjorn with an awful dilemma as to whether to grant the woefully out-of-form Spaniard a wild card.